I'm Batman.
Easy, miss. I've got you.
You've got me? Who's got you?
Mr. McGee, don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
I'm a doctor. But probably not the one you expect.
I'm Captain Kirk.
Welcome everyone to the special Geek This Week presentation, and this is the Vicki Lawrence Panel from Pensacon 2024 at the Right Place Center at the First Methodist Church in Downtown Pensacola, Florida. Vicki Lawrence, who started her career out as a cast member of the Carol Burnett show, also a singer who had a hit in the 70s called The Night the Lights Went Out in Georgia, but best known for playing Thelma Harper on Mama's Family. So sit back and watch as Vicki Lawrence talks about her career playing Thelma Harper, the series Mama's Family, and much, much more. Also, please check out all the other great content on the Geek This Week YouTube channel. Please leave a like on this video, and thank you guys for your support, and I hope you enjoyed this panel.
You're all having a great time to round out Pensacon 2024? Awesome. So we have a really amazing panel that's about to happen. I know I'm excited, and I don't think she needs much introduction, but in case you didn't realize who you're here for, you are here for one of the, probably the most important female comedians that I can think of in our modern times. She's an American actress, comedian, and singer, and best known for her character Mama from CBS's Carol Burnett show and Mama's Family. Please give it up for Miss Vicki Lawrence. And the intro music and everything. And before we get started, you know the way this goes by the end of the weekend. If you have questions, feel free to line up at the microphones, and we'll get to you when we get a chance. Thank you so much. So, Miss Lawrence, or Vicki, whichever you prefer, I'm kind of starstruck, so I feel like I tend to do the sudden thing and call you Miss Lawrence.
No. I feel very old.
So, Vicki, how have you been this weekend? Have you had a nice time here at Pensacon?
It's been great. Yeah.
You lucked out. We had some really nice weather. It's not always this way. So, but just to get things started, I know more about the beginnings of your career because I did some research. But for the people who don't know, can you share how you went from being in high school to being on the Carol Burnett show?
Yeah. Well, when I was a senior in high school, I was told from the very day that I entered high school that I looked like Carol Burnett. So when I was a senior, I entered this little local contest called Miss Fireball. And it was the Fireman's Ball was coming up. They wanted some girls to sing and dance, so they said, let's call it a contest and get some bimbos to come out. So I was one of the bimbos, and the newspaper, our local newspaper gal, did a big article about 2 weeks prior to the contest and said that I bore a striking resemblance to a young Carol Burnett. So my mom said, it's time to write the fan letter. And so I did. I wrote her this letter. I told her that I looked like her, told her I would love to meet her someday. I didn't really ask for much of anything. I enclosed this little article with a picture so she wouldn't think I was a nut basket. I mailed it, I think I mailed it off to Carol Burnett, CBS Hollywood.
Wow,
Yeah,
like Santa Claus.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, and it managed to land on her desk prior to the contest. Her secretary at the time was her cousin. We all called her Cuz. And she would be, she was in charge of Carol's mail. She opened my letter. She said, Carol, you need to read this. She read my letter. She got the newspaper article, took my dad's name out of the newspaper, looked us up in the phone book, remember those? Called me after school. And she said, I could not speak. When I heard her voice, nothing would come out of my mouth. So I handed the phone to my mom. Carol said, no, I really want to talk to Vicki. Just put her back on, tell her she doesn't have to say anything. All she has to do is listen. She said, I want to come and see this contest that you're going to be in. She said, I'm very pregnant, so I would prefer not to be seen. So I want you to get me 2 seats way in the back. I will come in and leave, and then I'll call you in a couple weeks and we'll discuss your career, sweetie. And I thought she was nuts. I was just, you know, I was young and stupid. Anyway, I told the guy that was running the contest, I said, I need you to get me 2 seats way in the back, and please don't tell anybody it's Carol Burnett. And of course, everybody knew she was there. And so we did the little contest. It was like an 1890s firehouse thing. So we had a couple of can numbers together, I say bimbos. And then we each had our own little individual talent. I played the guitar and had a kazoo strapped around my neck and sang Won't You Come Home, Bill Bailey. And I won the contest. And the guy that had promised not to say a word got right up on stage and said, we have a very special guest in our audience this evening. And I thought, well, this is great. He's going to ruin my career before it ever even starts. Would she be kind enough to come up on stage and crown the winner? Well, she did. And I got a couple of pictures with her and the mayor and the fire chief, and didn't hear another word from her for, well, this is like November of my senior year in high school. The holidays go by, January comes around, I come home from school, my mom said they announced on the radio that Carol had the baby, thank God, right? And she's at St. John's in Santa Monica. So I was on my way to a recording session with a group that I sang with when I was young called the Young Americans. And so I said to the guy I'm ride sharing with, I said, let's just stop by the hospital and say hi to Carol on the way. He said, you can't get in to see Carol Burnett. And I said, well, I know our married name now, so I'm going to try. So off we go to St. John's. I look up the maternity ward, it's on the 3rd floor. I go up to the 3rd floor, there's 2 nurses sitting at the nurses' station. There's nothing going on, it's very quiet. And as politely as I could, I said, I'm here to see Mrs. Hamilton. And they said, oh my God, you must be her sister Chrissy. Wait till you see her. Wait till you see the baby. They took me right into her room. I would be arrested nowadays. A long time ago. Anyway, she was very sweet. She said, I haven't forgotten you. As soon as I get my tummy back, I promise we're going to call you. Well, so it was, oh gosh, I felt like May or June that I got a call from her husband, her then husband, Joe Hamilton. And he said, do you know where CBS is? And I said, no. He said, do you know where Farmer's Market is? I said, yeah. He said, right next door. We want you to come in, and we want to know if you'd like to audition to play Carol's sister on the Carol Burnett show. Well, yes, of course, I would love to audition. There were only 2 of us girls. The other girl was an actress on a sitcom, on a soap opera at the time. And she had her agent and her manager. She had flowers all over her dressing room. I'm little me, I'm down at the end of the hall in this empty room by myself. We did our little audition. And, oh gosh, several weeks went by, and I got a call one day after school from Joe's secretary. She said, hi, sweetie, Joe wants to talk to you. And I thought, oh, well, they're just going to try to let me down gently. So I get on the phone with Joe, and he said, we've given this a lot of thought, and I think what we're going to do is we're going to give you a chance. We would like to hire you. So there you have it.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So it just so happened that she was in the throes of putting the Carol Burnett show together when I wrote her that letter. So very serendipitous timing.
Exactly, yeah, and the fact that you looked like her too, everything, all the things were aligned,
Yeah.
to make that
Yes,
happen.
I guess so.
So you, from what I know from there, you actually were filming the show while you were in college.
I did. Well, my dad went to UCLA, so it was his dream that I would go to UCLA. So I started college and the Burnett show the same fall.
Wow.
And the deal was you may go to college as long as you're at the studio by 11 every day. So I didn't have much of a college life. I took everything you could take at 7 a.m. and snuck on and off with a scarf over my head. And yeah, would go to work and watch the best people in the world.
Yeah, well, and the Carol Burnett show has really kind of stood out, as one of the first, if not the first, sketch comedy show that we really could see or the first comedy show that we saw of that genre. That's now so many things have built off of. what was it like being in something that was kind of groundbreaking at the time?
You don't know it at the time. You know, you're just trying to do your best work and hope that it will. You know, CBS didn't think that the Carol Burnett show would last because Carol tells the story about them not wanting her to do a variety show. They thought she should do maybe a sitcom because she had like a development deal with CBS, and they said, you know, variety shows are for men. They're not for women. So, you know, because there was Sid Caesar and there was Jackie Gleason and who else had a variety show? Red Skelton, yes. Not a man's game, not a woman's game. It's for men. And Carol said, yeah, but I want to be different characters every week, and I want to do movie takeoffs, and I don't want to just be a sitcom. So they had no choice because she had this development deal, so she got to do what she wanted. But they never intended for her show to last. And Joe used to tell a story about going in for his first big meeting with the head of programming, and they always have a big board in the back that has, you know, the schedule on it. Carol was not scheduled. She wasn't on that schedule past 6 weeks. They did not expect the show to last.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And it was
it's your guys' fault.
Anyway, 11 seasons, I believe it was?
Yeah.
Wow, wow. So you, from there, you know, there's so many iconic moments from that show. Of course, we have, you know, the Gone with the Wind sketch, all of those beautiful Bob Mackie costumes. You know, obviously we had the character that eventually became Mama that came off of that show. So many things spun off of that. What has it been like carrying that torch of those characters that you developed so long ago?
Oh, well, you know, I think a lot of her characters have just had a life of their own, you know, and have lived on, and I feel like the comedy from the Burnett show still stands up because we weren't topical. You know, I think about Laugh-In, it was so topical that it doesn't really play today. But the Burnett show holds up pretty well. I was watching it just last night in my hotel room.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was like watching home movies. But a lot of those characters have really just stood the test of time, I think. So.
You've spoken before about what, you know, it was like what a masterclass that must have been growing up inside of that show with all of those comedians. What was that like? Being, you know, just starting your career there in that place? Yeah,
well, when I started college, and I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, you get through 2 years and they make you have to declare a major. So I decided at the end of 2 years that perhaps I will major in theater because it seems like maybe that's what I'm going to do. At first I thought I was going to major in dance, but of course the first thing you had to take was Dance 1A. I went into the class the first day and the teacher said, "Let's all lie down on the floor and pretend we are pieces of seaweed. Reach out and touch the piece of seaweed next to you." And I reach over and there's this huge, ugly girl who's rolling around being seaweed. And I thought, I just want to learn to do a traveling time step. So I got up off the floor, I ceased to be seaweed, I picked up my backpack, and the teacher was going like this as I walked out and reach out, feel the waves lashing over your body. And I walked out. I went home to my parents, I said, I don't think I can do it. And they said, well, major in theater, try theater. So the thing at UCLA was if you signed up for theater, you were obliged to audition for every play that they did. And if you got the part, you were obliged to do it. You were also obliged to do a quarter's worth of crew work, you know, every semester. And I couldn't do it. It was the night we were taping. So I dodged the theater department for the longest time. And finally I went into my favorite theater professor with the pipe and the pocket watch and very serious. And I said, I don't know what to do because I can't do these obligations. He said, you want my advice? He said, you go and sit in the audience and listen to the best teachers in the world. You are where every kid in this department would give their right arm to be. So I had to go home and tell my dad I wasn't going to finish UCLA. Until the day she died, my mother said, you have got to get your education so you have something to fall back on.
My goodness, my goodness. So also, if you have questions, please feel free to line up the microphones and ask your questions. So you also had this really hit song that some people out here might remember. Yeah? Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about?
Oh, well, I was married to the guy that wrote it for 10 minutes. And, it was kind of like the only good thing that came out of this dysfunctional marriage. Say again? Oh, probably both. I was married. Yeah, we didn't even last a year. But during that time, he wrote this little song, and he didn't like it. He hated it. So when he'd go into demo material, I was always going, well, what about Georgia? What about Georgia? Finally, one night he said, I hate that song. If you want to do it, then you do the demo. So I did the demo for him, and we took it out to Hollywood to his producer, who said, I kind of like this song. I think it's a pretty good little song. He could not give that song away. Nobody wanted to do it because everybody said it will offend the South. And he even tried, he was producing Cher at the time. He tried to give it to Cher, and Sonny said, she won't do it unless it's completely rewritten. This from the woman who did Gypsies, Tramps, and Thieves. Anyway, so I kind of inherited that song by default. Nobody else wanted it. So finally, Scott Barrett was the producer. He threw his hands up. He said, let's just go in the studio and do it with Vicki.
Wow, amazing.
So that's how that happened. I got a gold record, I got the dog, and I got a divorce.
Go ahead and ask me questions.
Hey, how's it going, Vicki?
It's good.
First, thank you for an awesome childhood. When I would stay at my grandparents', the house was always filled with sitcoms and the Carol Burnett show, and Mom's Family was always part of that lineup, so thank you. But every great character's got an origin. Was Mama Harper based on somebody in your life?
You know, I used to say it was based on mothers I have known, so as not to offend anyone. But now all the mothers are gone. A lot like my first mother-in-law, but she was very Southern. She was very sweet. She was so sweet, baby darling. Oh, love you, sweet baby thing. You know, she was one of those grandmothers. But a lot of her, I listened a lot to the way she talked. Honestly, I think by the time Mama came along, I had played a lot of old ladies on Carol's show. So this was, at the time, was just another old lady. Carol was supposed to play her. The part was written for Carol, but she didn't like it. She said, I feel like Eunice speaks to me. So she went to Bob Mackey and she said, don't you think we could make Vicki Mama? And you know, by now he's made me lots of old ladies. He said, sure, we can make her Mama. So I think I was really just trying to find an older version of what Carol was doing as Eunice. I think.
Awesome, thank you very much.
Yeah.
So when you've come up with, the inspiration for those characters, like you developing that character, how do you, I've talked to many actors at some based on people they know or experienced, other people sit in the room and think about it. What's your process for coming up with a character?
I don't know. The writing, I think, just the way it's written, and I don't know. My process.
Just do it in the moment.
I think so.
Be a piece of seaweed until it comes about.
Yeah. Reach out and grab that seaweed next to you. Yeah.
Yes.
So was on the Carol Burnett show, was that tightly scripted or was it semi-scripted?
It was very tightly scripted. We had an amazing staff of writers. We had just a great staff of writers. If we were going to ad-lib, we would do that during the week, and the director would say, that's really good. Could you do it like it's written, please? So, because writers are very particular about their work, but sometimes, Carol would say, this is not working. Vicki needs a better joke on page 17, and I'd look up from my needlepoint and say, I do, and she'd say, hush now, yes you do. It was a very collaborative effort, and was really not until Tim came on more regularly that we all learned to fly by the seat of our pants, because you never knew what was going to happen with Tim. I didn't know until a number of years ago that he was dyslexic, so it was very hard for him to read the scripts. So he wrote a lot of the scripts that he did, the sketches that he did on the show. A lot of them were his work. And basically the deal was we used to do 2 shows. If the director got all the shots and everything worked on the first show, we'd change out the audience, have a dinner break, and the director would say to Tim, "You're free to do what you want on the second show." And he did.
It really sounds like Carol was a huge advocate for you throughout your time with her.
Oh yeah, she was a mentor, and she was, yeah, the network did not want me. The network wanted to get rid of me shortly after the show started, and they came down and they said, "Don't you think we should, she's really rough, don't you think we should get an actual actress?" And Carol said, "She's a diamond in the rough, and we are hanging on to her." And she just took me under her wing and went about training me. Harvey did a lot of training for me too. I have to say, Harvey, I mean, Carol had a show to run, and Harvey really would take me aside and work on accents with me and work on, you know, make your props your friends and developing characters. He helped me a lot. So I think I would have to say Harvey taught me a lot of what I know about comedy.
That's great, it's amazing. Oh, yes, up here.
Okay, so I have 2 things. Number 1, your song was recorded by somebody else, but she did not do it justice. Your song was your song, right? The Night the Lights Went In Georgia, I grew up with that song. And I need to know what your beauty secrets are, because you are absolutely gorgeous, and I need to know something.
My beauty secret is you're far away. Stay far away from people. You know, I was married to the makeup artist on the Carol Burnett show. So, yeah, I was. I mean, I still am. We're going to celebrate our 50th wedding anniversary this year. Al thinks he should get a free pass.
Oh!
You should, after 25 years, you should get to walk if you'd like to.
Yes.
What was the funnest time on Carol Burnett show and Mama's Family?
The funnest time? Oh my God, that's much too hard. We had a blast every week. We really did. We had a ball. And when I think about, God, the people that I kind of feel like I got to touch the golden age of Hollywood, because the people that came through the Burnett show, I mean, almost anybody you can think of, Betty Grable and Rita Hayworth and Bing Crosby and Ella Fitzgerald, and my God, it was just Jimmy Stewart, just so many wonderful people. Joanne Woodward. I mean, really legendary actors came through that show. Gloria Swanson, you guys. Gloria Swanson was a guest on the Carol Burnett show. I don't know if you know that. And I know there's probably a lot of you out there who are saying, "Who is Gloria Swanson?" Go home and call your grandmother.
Yes, over here.
My favorite television show was Mama's Family, and I watched it with my mom like often. So, what was your favorite episode to film?
Oh, thank you. What was your favorite episode? What's your name?
Alexa.
Say again?
Alexa.
Alexa? What's your favorite episode, Alexa?
I think it was the last one.
Oh, the last one. With the baby. And yeah. Is that your mother? So she thinks your favorite episode is which one?
The Mama's Girls one.
Mama's Girls? What was that one?
It was the one where it was like the dance, and it got like put down, and y'all tried to like get the thing back together.
Oh, okay.
The dance back together.
I'm always trying to get my thing back together. I don't know. I don't know. So many of those episodes were so fun. I love Dirty Dancing. And I remember the travel agency very well. I remember I was so sick the night we shot that, and it turned out to be one of my favorite episodes. It's a great day here at the Right Town Travel Agency. Great day.
My brain just went
Again, thank you for coming to Pensacola. You had just recently mentioned something about making the props your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Did you get around to learning crochet, needlepoint, knitting, or something like that? And do you continue doing that on your own?
I did crochet on, I was big into crocheting back then, so it was easy for me to pick it up and have Mama do it. Yeah. And I did a lot of needlepoint, and yeah, I do that stuff, knitting. So yeah, easy to put that stuff into the script. I'll tell you a prop story that's cute. When I did Hannah Montana, I played Mama. And when I got to the set the first day, the producers said, you know, we are trying to hire really good people to surround Miley because she's a little sponge and she will learn from you. So if you have wisdom to impart, please teach Miley, because we want her to learn. So the first scene we had was in the kitchen, and it was like, to me, when you have a lot of props, it's almost like a dance. It's like this goes here and that goes here, and that's that. And that's how I learn my lines, is by where I am and what prop I'm handling. So Miley was having a little trouble with the scene, and so I pulled her aside. I said, listen to me, make your props your friends. And so I taught her about where, you know, how to do your lines and your props and coordinate the whole thing. And so flash forward 4 years later, and I'm doing one of the very last episodes of Hannah Montana. And Miley and Mama are going to a fancy tea room, so we're all dressed up. And we've got purses and everything. We walk into the tea room and we sit down at the table, and their show used to block and shoot, which means you'd get all dressed and they would just shoot it when you were in costume. So we walk in, we sit down at the table, the little tea table, and I set my purse down. And I realize almost immediately as we start that my purse is going to be in every shot, and if I don't put it in the same place on every take, it's going to be a problem. So I said, hold on, wait, cut. I said, this is not a good place for my purse. I said, Miley, where did you put your purse? She said, I hung it on the back of my chair, Vicki. Make your props your friends.
That was a great Miley impression as well. Another distinctive voice. Yes?
I have a question about constraints. So you started out on network and then went to syndication with Mama's Family.
Mm-hmm.
And budgets and schedules back in those days are a little bit different from what they were later and what they are today. You know, building extra sets, those kinds of things tended to be a little farther between. Could you talk about the rehearsal schedule and the budget considerations for the show and how they changed over time?
Oh, well, I wasn't really privy to a whole lot of that. You know, I was really lucky enough to take a lot of the staff from the Burnett show when we moved on to Mama's Family. And for the first season and a half when we were on NBC, we shot at CBS where we had done the Burnett show for 11 years. So it was like home. And then we got canceled. I mean, NBC kept moving us to these horrible time slots. They moved us opposite Magnum PI, opposite Tom Selleck. And, you know, we had a little trouble there, and then we started doing better, so they moved us opposite Love Boat, and we were doing it, but I think they just kept moving us to these horrible time slots till they felt they had the ammunition to cancel us. Because the young executives at CBS didn't ever understand an old woman playing a young woman, and they didn't understand that rural comedy was so popular. And I think some of the best sitcoms that we've ever had have been rural, you know. But they didn't get it. So I think when they felt they had enough ammunition to cancel me, they did. And am I exhausting? I'm exhausting. I'm exhausted. So sorry. I've always wanted to do this. Shit. Shit. Anyway, when we moved to first run syndication, we were bought by Laura Martella Pictures. They had just merged. And Telepictures was all these young guns that were going to go into syndication, and they were looking for shows that had been on the air but had never really gotten a good shot. And they looked at Mama's Family and looked at our demographic, and they said, this is a show that really didn't get enough of a chance. So they picked us up and put us into first-run syndication. We were one of the only shows doing it at the time. The only other one that I knew of at the time was Too Close for Comfort. And I just figured, well, if they can do it, we can do it. And we went to a little independent studio to shoot. And the show just ran like a top. It was we had no network interference. We would literally finish a show, send it over to Telepictures, and they'd send the check and say thank you. So it was a lovely way to work. The only unfortunate thing is that we were like little orphans in Hollywood, you know, because this is way pre-streaming. Nobody was doing anything like that. Nobody much was doing syndication. So we were not eligible for Emmys or awards or anything that other shows got to do. And it wasn't really until Buffy the Vampire Slayer, which was also syndicated, made a big fuss, and the Academy decided to open up the awards ceremonies. But by that time, we were kind of off the air. So, yeah, but I would like to think we might have done a little better had we been allowed. Yeah.
It's very interesting. Yes?
So on Carol Burnett, it looked like a lot of the times you would almost break character, that you just have that like pause and then almost laugh. So was that just like how comfortable you were with the rest of the cast, or were you all try to like, what can I do to make Tim break or Carol?
Very hard to make Tim break. Very hard. Harvey was just a pushover. Harvey, on any given day, if you were standing in the, in the rehearsal hall and the elevator would come up, Tim was in the elevator, he would be standing there doing nothing that I could see, and Harvey would go down for the count. He would just go down. Till the day he died, Tim said he had custody of Harvey. And he used to tell a really funny story because, when Tim was first hired on Carol's show, he did most of his sketches with Carol. And it wasn't, I don't think, until maybe the dentist sketch that Harvey and Tim really started clicking together and working together. And then they really just became such a powerful duo that he did most of his work with Harvey. But he was, Tim, just oh my God, what a troublemaker he was. We used to have cue cards like, I can't remember, Carol's black, Harvey was green, Tim was red, I was blue. If you looked out on any given night and you saw a red cue card that said Savor on it, that meant here comes the joke from Tim that nobody has heard that's going to save the whole sketch. And you would just fasten your seatbelt and say, here we go, here we go. I don't think I did a lot of cracking up, I didn't break until Mama came along. Because I didn't really feel I'd earned the right. I didn't feel like I had earned the privilege to play with the grown-ups in the sandbox. I was very studious. So, and it wasn't until Mama came along that I started being a little bit of a devil. But I think mostly it was Tim that would almost always, or anything spontaneous that nobody was expecting. It was fun. It was just part of the fun. I think it's what people loved because it was like watching live television. Yeah.
Thank you. Yes?
The past few years have not been very kind to comedy and comedians.
Oh, I thought you were going to say to me. Because you've got glasses on.
How can we as fans get comedy back to where we can laugh without fear?
Oh, good Lord, I don't know. I think the younger generation is, they're off the rails. And they're so tuned into their social media and they just want instant gratification. And we used to do sketches that would last half the show. So I know some of the family sketches were literally half of the hour show. And I'm not sure anybody has that attention span anymore. People just want instant gratification now. So, I don't know.
So when you were doing the show, did you ever have a moment where you felt like you finally made it? It's a loaded question, but...
Yeah, I think I've finally felt grown up when Mama came along because she was so popular and I really had such a strong handle on her. Yeah.
What is your favorite type of role to play? And do you enjoy, like, do you continue to want to do more kind of comedy, sketch, that kind of thing?
Oh, well, currently I'm on the road with a one-woman show, but I call it Vicki Lawrence and Mama, a two-woman show. And that's what I'm doing now, and I love doing that. And I never thought I would like being on stage alone, but you're never really alone because you got all those fans out there that are taking the ride with you, so it's always fun. Yeah.
Yes.
For the record, you look just as good up close, if not better, than you do far away. Just want to put that out there. Are there any of the cast members from Mama's family still with us? And if they are, do you keep in touch with them?
They are, and I'm so the next con show that I am doing, Dorothy and Alan will be there. And I'd love to have them with me sometimes, but you know, we can't all always make it. So, but yeah, I definitely keep in touch with the two of them, and I'm certainly in touch with Carol as often as I can be.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious, you kind of touched that you're doing this tour thing you're doing, but is there anything else in the future that we can look forward to and watch for, that we get to experience more of your comedy?
Oh, well, nothing that I know of. Do you know any agents? Producers? Anything? I don't know.
Tell me.
I don't know. I did a little show a few years ago, like 3 years ago, called The Cool Kids. That's the most recent thing that I did. And it broke my heart when it got canceled because it was the most adorable cast, and I miss those boys so desperately. Yeah.
Yes.
Hi, is there anything that you feel like you've missed out on in life? Hobbies, just because you are so famous and because of all the fans?
My fans are so nice, and we live in really just a neighborhood where everybody knows everybody, and so I feel like my life is pretty darn normal. Yeah.
We have time for about 10 minutes left, so if you have any other questions, please feel free to come up to the mic.
Gifts, if there are any gifts.
Yes. Offerings for Vicki. So, I think it's really interesting that your career started when you were so young, that you, as we've mentioned, went into playing, older characters, an older woman as a young woman. How did that inform your career moving forward? Having that different trajectory of most young actors?
Oh, well, that's probably part of the reason I don't do a lot of work, because everybody expects me to be older when I walk in the room. Every time I go to anything for casting, they're like, oh, we thought you were going to be much older. Because all the casting people are so much younger than me, and they expect Mama to walk in the room, and yeah, she doesn't.
And I don't think most people realized you were so young when you started on that show either.
I was 18 when I started, and I was 24 when I first played Mama.
Wow.
So it's been 50 years with that old lady. I was Betty White's mother. I think I was like the youngest of all of my kids were older than me, and yeah.
Yes.
Hi. So I heard you were still doing Mama on the road. How has that changed over the years? How have you grown with her, and how has she grown with you?
Well, I've grown into the part, God knows. I mean, thank God she was not a sex symbol, right? It's been a part that I've been able to grow into gracefully. Mama, I think, when I put my road show together, I specifically said to my writing partner, I don't want it to be retrospective. I want to push Mama into the new century and let her comment on everything that's going on in the world. So there is an abundance of stuff to talk about because the whole world has gone nuts. And so it's fun to keep her topical, and she's always got usually a wrong perspective on everything, but it's fun to write for and fun to keep her really topical. So I would say she's gotten a little more outspoken, and but as have I. I feel like you get to a certain age and you're allowed to say what the hell you want.
Thank you.
Yeah. You again. All right.
I got you cookies.
You got what now?
I got you cookies.
You brought me cookies? Well, sweetie, bring them on up here. Where did you get cookies? Oh, you guys have a whole snack thing going on. Well, thank you so much, sweetie. They look really good. Have you had one? Yeah?
That's so sweet. That's such a precious panel. Yes.
What's the weirdest time you had on television, on any programs?
The weirdest time?
Yeah.
The weirdest time? Well, gosh. The weirdest time. Well, we had a strike one time, and all the cameramen were gone, so it was a union strike. The executives came down from upstairs to do the cameras.
Oh my goodness.
And we kind of blocked and shot without an audience because it was kind of a little chaotic and strange. And I do remember one week when Vincent Price was our guest, and we did a big number called the Transylvania Trot. And all the girls, we were all dressed as sort of Elvira, you know, we looked very like that, and big, huge high heels, and there were lots of ghouls and goblins, and you know, it was spooky. And we had a huge break because I don't know what was going wrong. They had to redo something or I don't remember what was going on, but we had like this hours-long break, which we never had on the Burnett show. And Lyle came into the Harvey's dressing room where we were all talking. We were all in there except for Carol, who was in her dressing room, mind you. So now we're all in Harvey's room, and Lyle gets down on the floor and starts rolling a joint. So, and I just told Carol this story not too long ago. She was appalled. We were all stoned when we did the Transylvania joint. She had no idea. It was kind of a weird night.
I think that fits. That fits. Oh my goodness. Wow. Always keeping all of us laughing, right? Yes.
Hello again, Miss Vicki.
Hi.
I had the distinct privilege of greeting Miss Vicki at the airport when she arrived here in Pensacola, and so when you said "you again," I thought you were talking to me.
Michelle, is that
yes,
right?
Yes,
All right, okay.
My best friend Vikcki Lawrence, everybody. As a local actress here in the local area, I just want to add my thank yous to you for paving the way for all of us girls out here doing our thing. Throwing it back to the cool kids, do you have any good Leslie Jordan stories to share with us?
Oh my gosh. Leslie, oh my God. Leslie would regale us with stories every day that were just insane. Stories about his prior life. When he was on drugs and was in jail with Robert Downey Jr. Dear God, the stories he would tell. He saved all of our lives during the pandemic. He turned out real good. Just a sweetheart. I think we all used to tell old showbiz stories, and it was like who could top each other. And I miss him very much. I still can't believe he's not on the other end of the phone when I call. I just can't believe it.
To be a fly on the wall in those conversations, man. Thank you.
We have time for just these last two questions.
I was wondering if there would ever be an opportunity for like you to convince someone to make collectibles of the Mama's Family cast, like action figures or either
action figures
or dolls or something like that.
Well, I don't know. Who would I ask?
I don't know.
Oh, but I think it was a one-off. So, all right.
Maybe she could be an action figure.
Work on that. Yeah.
Mama is an assassin. I think she would do quite well at that.
Yeah.
Yes. What is some of your favorite events that you've attended, like Pensacon?
Well, these are really fun. Favorite events I've attended. When I was a young American, we did the Oscars. That was fun. We sang Born Free the year that was nominated. And I just remember the head of the Young Americans, we were all at the buffet table, grabbing cookies and stuff, and Elizabeth Taylor was trying to get something to eat, and our director said, "Get away from the food, you guys, now." Poor Elizabeth couldn't get to the table to eat.
Well, thank you all so much for asking wonderful questions, and thank you, Vicki, for spending your time with us. We actually, after this panel, Miss Vicki is going to be actually offering some photo opportunities because she won't be going back to the Bay Center. So if you would be interested in taking a photo with her, obviously we will ask you to leave after this panel and go into the Slimer's Diner area. Oh, Mr. West is going to get that information.
Okay, so here's what we're going to do. If you want to photograph, stay in your seats.
Oh, new information.
Let the group go out, and Miss Lawrence will take you around where the area is. And once she's settled in, we're going to line everybody down this hallway and take you right on it.
Oh, all right. Great.
All right.
Terrific.
Yes, and I believe they are $60 cash only. So just that information. So thank you again so much for spending your time with us and sharing your expertise.